So where does your interest in music stem from?
Um, I mean, I grew up with both my grandfathers having histories of being like professional musicians in different capacities. And from a pretty early age, they sort of both tried to get me into playing music. And I don't think I listened a little bit, but my one grandfather was trying to like teach me how to like play piano by like, the classical way, like reading music, sheet music and things like that. And it wasn't like sticking. And I think he would just get more frustrated. And I always just wanted to have a guitar instead. And I don't know, when I want to say like fifth grade, sixth grade or something like that, I got in, no, earlier than that, I got into like skateboarding probably around like third, fourth grade or something like that. And then that sort of, by proxy segued me getting into like punk music.
Oh,
And
sure. That's always a gateway,
yeah, it's a gateway drug for sure.
which is great. It's you
Yeah.
need that exposure, and that's where you could find it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was just sort of that happened. And then like I don't remember what how old I was or what I remember getting for Christmas a guitar. And I want to say that was like fifth grade, maybe fourth grade, even something like that. So I don't know how old you are then, like 11, 12 or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So around that time, I got a guitar for Christmas and then I started learning, I think, like learning Blink 182 and Green Day tabs. I like learned what tabs were and like started just sort of doing that and then figuring it out. I
And then
also
that,
had like a CD pro. This was like back in the, this was like Napster era computer days. I had a CD like ROM program that taught you how to play guitar. And I think that kind of worked a little bit, but I think like it was just mostly like looking at tabs. And like once that sort of clicked, I was like, oh, okay, now I can like do whatever I want with this instrument.
yeah. That's definitely good. Were you of the ilk of just burning CDs? Was that your time?
Yeah, definitely like burning CDs and stuff. Actually, like I had like an MP3 player. I remember when I was a kid, like around that
Oh,
time. Yeah, I think like the MP3 players back then, like I'm pretty sure my MP3 player held like something like 50 songs or something like 40 songs. I remember like my buddy had a mini disc player, which is what I wanted first, and then I ended up getting like an MP3 player, which I think had like 100 megabytes was like its limit, which two to three songs or 2 to 3 megabytes per song. So it's like, yeah, end up with like 50 songs, 40 songs on there, something like that.
it's a good amount.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely cycle through those.
Yeah.
So how long after kind of learning guitar did you start to make your own music?
I think the first song I wrote was probably like seventh grade. So that was probably like 12 or 13, maybe something like that. Maybe 13. Yeah, 13. So yeah, it was around then, like junior high. I remember like I hadn't my the guitar that my parents had got me was a nylon string like classical guitar, and then eventually I convinced them to get me like one of those kits like that you can buy at Guitar Center for like $100. It's like a electric guitar with an amp, and it was around that time I got like some shitty little. I think it was a Yamaha guitar with like an amplifier that went with it, and I started like a band kind of, which just meant like I was like getting together with like friends in my friend's garage and like fucking around. But yeah, I remember like writing songs. That was the first like memory I have of like writing songs. It was probably like 13 or so.
I mean, so you were really gravitated towards it just immediately.
Yeah, I tried. It was like those songs they're pretty funny, but like yeah, I definitely like wrote. And then my brother also like I would like sort of force him to play with me, even though he didn't really like play anything. I like kept trying to like get him to become a drummer, but he was more into video games and stuff. But like we had like a drum, I had all this like gear from my grandfather. So like, and I remember we had like a snare drum or a drum pad or something. And like, I forget how I was recording shit, but I would sort of like bug him to like, and like twist his arm into like playing drums with me or something. But it never really like I don't, it was like a drum pad or something like that. It was like a practice pad or something like that. So
You gotta hash out those ideas somehow. You gotta see if it
yeah,
has legs. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
By
But
any means necessary.
yeah, he really quickly, like, I mean, he was always into video games and I was into music. So, and yeah, at a certain point, I couldn't like force him to come into my room and like play drums anymore, like, or like hit something while I played it. Like calling it playing drums is being very generous. It was like literally like a practice pad, and like I don't even know if he had drumsticks most of the time. So, but yeah.
And how does he view it now? He's like, oh wow, he really wanted to
Honestly,
do this.
I have no clue, because like I honestly don't think I've really ever talked to him about it since like back then, to be honest. I'm gonna talk to him about it soon though. It's funny though, because he became a video game developer. He's like a coder. He was like working for Epic Games for quite a while, which like they created Minecraft.
I mean, you guys really found something. You're like, I'm just gonna do this, everything
Yeah,
into these two things, which is awesome.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny that like even back then, like the things that we were both trying to do so hard, we ended up doing. So yeah, he's younger than me too. So he's 3 years younger than me. So I mean, if I was 12, he was like 9. And I was like, tricking him into like coming into my, like bribing him with like, I don't even know what, like soda or candy, being like, I need you to hit the drum while I play this guitar part or something like that. He just like was not that into it.
So when did it start becoming more serious that people were, I mean, actually had sticks and that you were getting into music with people? I mean, like was that like a natural progression of getting more and more
Yeah,
professional?
I think like around the time that I started writing songs, I started a band in junior high, which like I ended up like sort of dishing playing guitar, because I had a friend who was playing guitar who was like better than me. And I just started singing. And then I had a band in junior high. I think played like a couple of backyard shows. And we played at this one place called the Cobalt Cafe, which is, I don't know. Are you from out here in LA?
Orange County. So
Orange County? Okay. There was a place called the Cobalt Cafe in, no, where the fuck was it? It was like somewhere in the valley, like Topanga. No, not Topanga. It's like Toluca Lake, maybe.
okay,
It
yeah.
was like on Ventura. Oh no, Coldwater, Canoga Park. Yeah, it was in Canoga Park. The Cobalt Cafe out in Canoga Park on Ventura Boulevard, I believe Ventura Boulevard. But like, I remember we did like one show there, and then when I graduated from junior high into high school in ninth grade, I remember starting a band, like that band sort of dissolving, and starting a band with some new people. Actually, it might have been the same. I think it was the same drummer. Yeah, it was the same drummer as my friend Brian. And we found like a bass player and a synth player. And we started like a synth punk band when I was in ninth grade called
Rad.
Venus Diode. And it was like kind of like Blood Brothers and The Faint and like AFI mixed together. Yeah.
Just bringing it all in. I like how you're creating a super group out of your old band. You're like, nah, let's do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Very smart, very smart.
Well, it's like I ended up like, I don't know, I had like a falling out with two of the kids who were in the other band, and me and the drummer Brian like met some other kids when we started high school, and
The same thing happened with the Eagles, man. Yeah, these
yeah,
things happen.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, so all throughout your formative years, you were like really just still invested in music, and you didn't steer away. Nothing else was. I mean, I'm assuming you had other hobbies, but it was mainly music that you were focusing on.
Yes, pretty much. Like Yeah, I played like ice hockey for like most of my youth, and then I quit ice hockey in ninth grade because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do music instead.
Look, man, I cut the other people out of the band. I'm not afraid to do hockey. I
Yeah,
mean, I just clean
yeah,
slate. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so yeah, basically around the time that, yeah, I'd say I pretty much always, like, since I was, yeah, I want to say since like fifth, sixth grade, since I got that like first guitar, I was kind of just like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Were you a good kid in school, or I mean, like getting decent grades?
No, I was bad in high school, especially. I got like kicked out of high school twice. I got held back a year just because I wasn't like doing any work at all. So like didn't like officially get held back. I just sort of like left high school. I got kicked out of my main high school, Hart High in Newhall, California, and then I went to like this thing called OFL, like Options for Learners, which is like a homeschooling kind of thing. Basically, like you would go into this place and get a packet of work, like once, or you'd go in like twice a week. You'd go in like the beginning of the week and they'd give you like a packet of work and you'd finish it and bring it in at the end of the week and like do a quiz or something. And when I did that for like a year. I didn't do anything. Like I didn't do any of that work. I just like fucked around. And then I basically left that school and went to another school. And then when I went to that school, which was like a charter school, they're just sort of like, okay, this is how long it's going to take you to graduate. And so at that point, I'd fallen behind like all my peers one year. So, but yeah, I mean, my whole reasoning for like not caring about any of that was just because I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to do any of this shit. I'm just going to play music. So,
And
and
you
then
were
I think,
kind of right. You kind of proved
yeah,
yourself correct there.
it worked out in that way. But then what happens, I realized like art school existed, like probably around like the time I was like 16 or something like that, which is around the same time I met William. I realized like art school was a thing and you could go to college and it could be this like experience that they weren't really telling you like was like an option in when you're in like regular high school.
Sure. They're like, yeah, I mean, it's there, but we're not going to tell you about it.
Yeah, like I never heard about art school. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know that like there was places where like you could just, I don't know, like there's a school called Cal Arts, which is where I ended up going, which is in Santa Clarita, and it's like very famous small private art school, and that's I ended up getting in there somehow, and I graduated
How
from
did
there.
that transpire? You're just like, yeah, we'll
I
take
just
it. What was it?
I just like I realized probably around the time I was like 17, like I was like, well shit, I could go to college, I could go to art school, and like a bunch of my friends are already going there. Like I started like making friends with some older people probably around the time I was like 16, 17. Like there was like an age gap. Like William is 3 years older than me. So I think when I was like 16, he was 19. And yeah, that's around the time I think him and I started probably like playing music together too. And so there was like, I was kind of the younger kid for a minute in our friend group. And then I just, yeah, I don't know. I just started going to, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to try to go to art school. I got in and that's what I did for 4 years. And I met a lot of people there too. Like I went to Cal Arts the same years as this guy, Michael Cronin, who I ended up playing with music with for a little while. When we were in Cal Arts, we played a little bit together, and right out of Cal Arts, I met in my class was this guy, Corey Hansen, who now has a band called Wand. I'm trying to think of who else. There's a ton of people who are like now I play like, play music as well. But yeah, it's got like sort of a long history of that too. It was
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
yeah. It seems like everybody that I've talked to that has attended it, it was always in that kind of class of like that,
Yeah.
fundamental class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great. And I had a lot of yeah, I don't know, like that's why Corey played in Pangea for a while before he like started Wand and stuff like that. And right when I graduated, I went on tour with Michael Cronin playing in his band because he needed people, and like we were just in school together. that kind of stuff. There's just like a lot of my friend Sophia. She plays in Juan, but she also now plays with Current Joys. She's her and I like worked in the print shop together, like stuff like that. It was just like a very small school, and I feel like, you know, a decent amount of people that were in my class ended up like also going into music, even though they were in art school like me.
I mean, you're just hobnocking with everybody, man. I mean, I don't even know. You're just a Renaissance man, talking to everybody you need to talk to.
Well, my thesis show too, I remember I threw like a festival in an art gallery. And I remember it's funny because like, so Brandon from Fiddler has been playing guitar with us for a while, and those guys are very good friends. Like probably like our, you know, part of my like immediate friend group is like
Brandon's fantastic. He's been on this podcast. Very nice guy.
Yeah, Brandon and Max are both like very good friends. All of them.
I mean, Max's episode was no.
Max's episode.
Love you, Max. It was nice to come on here too. Super tremendous guys, yeah.
But like for example, it was funny because like I forget why, but I was on Facebook and I like went into my messages and I saw like my first message from Elvis ever was when I was at Cal Arts, and it was him like sending me the SoundCloud link to Fiddler, being like, "Hey, just saw you, like I heard about the thing you're doing. I'm in this new band called Fiddler. We really want to play." And this must have been 2010, so it was quite a long time ago. And I actually told them they couldn't play because it was like too full. But it's funny because like, yeah, you know, a year and a half, 2 years later, we all became great friends, and we're still.
Sorry, dude. It's all can't get you in, man.
Yeah, it's just funny because it was like, yeah, you know, like of all the bands that did end up playing, like I don't know, like those guys are now like some of my best friends. So just funny the way time works like that.
That's really funny. What did you end up graduating with? What was the degree?
I got a bachelor's of fine art from college.
Very good, very nice. A thesis project, gallery, show.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing. Yeah. I mean, no wonder you got, yeah.
Well, that was like part of it. I had other stuff too that was just like a part of it. Like I had this like installation piece with like video and stuff like that, where it was basically what I was. There's this like narrative film. I like made this short film, and it had all these other elements in it, which were like sculptural, which like filled one gallery, and then part of the film was like this like music festival thing. It was all like this like fictional storyline or whatever, and I ended up like getting 2 galleries and having one where I actually like threw a music festival, and it was just like I had like 15 bands play basically in like a small room. It was great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I was at Cal Arts was when the first time you heard about Pangea at the time?
No, it was before that. William and I, like I said, I think I was probably like 16 and he was 19 when we first met.
And he was doing it back then with, it was the duo, I'm assuming, right?
Yep, it was him and Adrian. Adrian was my friend as well, and Adrian and I had a band for a while too. But I had met William in the, like we had played, I played a show and he also played a show. Like I played outside of this venue, he played inside at this like coffee shop, like in Santa Clarita, called like Java and Jazz, I think, or something like that.
Living up to the title there.
What's that?
I said living up to the title there with the
Yes.
Java and Jazz.
They had both. Yes.
What else do you want, really, out of a coffee shop?
Don't need anything else. But yeah, I saw him play with Adrian and it like blew my mind. And I remember like I tried to like walk up to him and tell him like how good I thought it was, and he just sort of like blew me off. But like Adrian was nice to me, and William's twin brother was really nice to me. And then we just kept like after that sort of just like running into each other pretty quickly, like a lot, like because we had a bunch of mutual friends and we were all going to the Smell to go to shows, and we'd bump into each other and be like, oh yeah, what's up? I remember you from that thing. Like, and then eventually we started somehow playing music together. I think we were just hanging out all the time and started just fucking around playing music. And it was great.
Natural progression.
Yeah. And I think by this time, like I was probably like 17, 16, 17 when him and I started like to play together. And probably about 18 when Adrian eventually left the band, and we then met and brought in Eric. I want to say 18. Yeah, so that was like, yeah. And then, but that was, I was already at CalArts by that time. Like I'd been at CalArts, I think, for a year before Adrian moved on with her other interests. And then yeah, we had basically we were like, shit, we got to find a drummer. We like asked some friends, and a friend was like, oh, I know this guy Eric, he lives in Saugus, which is like an adjacent town in Santa Clarita or whatever. And he's like, yeah, he's been like a ska drummer. And like, we're like, yeah, sure, fuck it. And he came and jammed with us at my art studio at CalArts, and like he knew the songs right away, and that was it. He joined the band kind of on the spot.
Man, that's just really, it seems like your life is a natural just progression of stuff. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. And then you're just constantly, that's great. It must be nice, is what I'm saying, Danny. It must be real nice to have that, because that's not my case. But that's I'm glad to know it's happening for somebody else.
Yeah.
So I mean, when did you guys, you're obviously playing when you're at CalArts, and not to, so for lack of a better term, when did you start to take it seriously? Like, you're like, oh, okay, like let's actually, it's not just a school band, it's like, let's pursue this outside of school.
That took a little while, honestly. It was like we just had been playing a bunch like of parties, and then eventually like our buddy Sean, who also went to CalArts with me, started throwing shows with his band down at the Smell. And we had always like been like, shit, we gotta play the Smell. Like playing the Smell was like a goal. And then we just started playing. Like once he started, like he was like volunteering at the Smell, and he was booking a lot of shows there. And once that started happening, that's kind of like what the beginning of it was, you know. Like I think that once he started asking us to play down there, we started like making the drive to play in LA every once in a while. Then I remember like we played the Echo for something, and there was like nobody there. And then we got asked to open up for like, I think the first time we did something that felt like real was that band Crystal Antlers asked us to like open for them at the Echo. And around that same time, like met the Fiddler guys when they were playing at this place called 5 Star Bar. That's the first time I remember playing, like meeting them. And then like we were like, oh shit, we live like half a mile from each other, we should like hang out. And then like, yeah, just sort of like gradually, like basically I graduated CalArts. The year before I graduated CalArts, I moved to Los Angeles. And then the year that I graduated CalArts, William moved down also like into the place that I had found. And then like it was just, yeah, it just sort of started with us like playing the Smell and like playing around Los Angeles. Like once that started, but then it didn't, you know, like it took probably another few years until like it really became like a thing. So we were still just playing like a lot of like parties, and like whatever show would get offered to us for like, you know, $100 and some beer or some shit. And like
decent payment.
Yeah, great payment. Yeah, exactly. All you need. So
well, I mean that, and then Java and Jazz, of course. But then after
Java
that,
Jazz.
Yeah. Then you're golden.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, and then I don't know, then out of nowhere I remember we started talking to this woman who was like managing, like she started to manage us. Then we had a booking agent, and then out of nowhere we got like an email from somebody at Capitol who like wanted to work with, like basically like it like all happened kind of quickly, like out of nowhere we just get like an email that's just like, hey, I'm so and so from Harvest Records, and like we check like their email address, and it's like their name at Capitol Records or whatever the fuck, and we're like, oh shit, like. And then that's around the time that like Battle Act happened, and that's when the band started to become like a more serious thing. Like that's when like we went from just playing whatever fucking show like around town to like, oh, we're going on tour for, you know, a month at a time. And that snowballed quickly into other shit.
Yeah, I mean that is really crazy. That I mean, it obviously took some time, but then after the ball was rolling, it began rolling. Kept on rather.
Yeah, it was just us like moving to LA and being around LA and sort of playing like everything and anything that got thrown our way. So
I mean, that's great, and of course you have that work ethic. Just keep on
yeah,
doing it until it works.
yeah. And back then too, I was like, just we were like in our early 20s, and that's like all we wanted to do was like go play every show that we possibly could and see what could happen. So
Going back to those CalArt bands, especially Michael Cronin and Corey Hansen and all these different people that were part of that kind of era, did you see those people? It's like that, yeah, that they will succeed in this. I mean, like I could see that happening, or was it like, oh wow, it's crazy that it did work out like that?
I mean, we were all just playing music all the time. So it was kind of just like, yeah, something's probably going to happen. I remember Michael, it felt like Michael like was the most sort of legitimate dude because he already like had a band that had a vinyl record out, the Moonhearts.
That's big.
Yeah. And like then he had a record out with this guy, Ty Siegel, who like was also like another Orange County guy who started like I ended up meeting through him. And like they had a record out together called Reverse Shark Attack. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, oh damn, Michael's got 2 LPs out. He's fucking doing it.
That's a great LP, by the way, that Reverse Shark Attack one.
Yeah, it's really good.
Super
Definitely.
good.
And then like yeah, basically then like so he always sort of seemed like the more legit musician at CalArts just because he like had vinyl out. And I think it took everybody else like a minute to like sort of catch up to that. But and then yeah, basically like we graduated in 2012 or 2011, I can't remember. And I remember around that time he was like, I need like a band to go on tour with Ty. Because I'm gonna open up for his tour or whatever. And this was like, I mean, this is still like pretty early on, even for Ty. Like Ty was doing that tour was like the first sort of real tour I ever went on, like where people were at the shows no matter what. But it was still a pretty small tour. It was like, I think the biggest show was probably like 400, 500 people.
That's a lot of people, though. I mean, like especially that young.
Yeah, I mean, it felt massive to me. Like at the time, I was like, "Holy shit, this is insane! This is huge."
And were you playing bass at this time?
I was actually playing guitar with Michael on that tour, and like doing like vocal harmonies. But the band was me, Corey Hansen, Eric from my band, Chad Ubovich, who is Neat Bodies.
Great bassist, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it was Corey, me, Michael, Chad, and Eric. That was the band. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's a super group right there.
it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I mean, less super than the other band you tried to start in middle school with your drummer, because that's like that's the ultimate
Not quite.
one.
Yeah, it's almost there.
Yeah. I mean, you can't touch that though. There's just some things, you can't fly too close to the sun.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't win them all.
So after these after the ball started rolling with like getting more gigs and everything and the management and all this, is that like right from then you're like, okay, like this is becoming more successful already? Was that the point that a kind of turning point of like, yeah, this is starting to gain some traction?
Pretty much. Like I graduated CalArts and I was just kind of like, I remember my mentor, like this old guy named John Mandel. He was I remember him being like, I bet you're just gonna just keep doing music. You'll probably stop art pretty quickly after you graduate. And I was like, yeah, I'll see what happens. I remember like having an open mind and just sort of being like, yeah, well, whatever, like I can start making money at, I'll go that way or whatever. And I essentially like I graduated, and I feel like you graduate in May or something like that. And then in June, I was on the road with Michael. And then when we're on tour with Michael, I remember getting a phone call saying that we got offered a tour with the band Detroit Cobras for Pangea. who the singer just passed away, which is crazy, like super sad. But yeah, like, and so like basically like I graduated and then I was on the road with Michael, then I get home, and then like I want to say I got home probably July, maybe August, and then I was like gone again like a month later with Pangea. And then just shit started like, it just sort of kept going and going. Like there was a time like around like Battle Act, like 2014, 2013, where we were just like on tour like sometimes like 8, 9 months out of the year. So
How did you like that touring? Like what did you feel like, this is sick, or is like this is too much?
oh no, I loved it. It was it
Process.
was it was great. We were like crashing on people's floors and like roughing it, like, and I didn't give a shit. I was like, I was young enough where I just like didn't care. I just wanted to be like gone all the time. So like, yeah, I loved it. It was great.
You want some adventure?
Yeah, it was an adventure, and it was like, like we weren't really making money. Like I'd make enough to like come home and pay rent for like a month or two. I was like paying nothing in rent. So like it seemed like it made sense, like it was just kind of like, yeah, let's keep doing this as much as we can until we can't anymore.
Yeah.
And then it just
yeah.
kept happening. And then like that was it, kind of.
What are some memories that stand out to you from those first couple of tours, real tours with Pangea, just going around? And I'm assuming, did you guys? I mean, with 9 months, you're going east and you're going all over, huh?
Yeah, we're going all over. We're just doing like multiple U.S. tours, like kind of nonstop. I kind of remember like, yeah, I don't know, like driving on like ice in like Milwaukee and shit like that for the first time, just like doing shit like that, like being in like parts of the country with like extreme weather, like that kind of stuff. Like I remember like freaked me out a lot.
Seeing seasons, actual
yeah,
seasons.
seeing seasons and stuff. I remember we missed a show. We missed a show in Kansas City because we were coming down from Minnesota, and I think Minneapolis to Kansas City was the drive, and it had like an ice storm had happened, and like the highway was just ice, and like I remember like we were having to like drive like 20 miles an hour like the whole time and stuff like that. Like I remember like staying in some, like the first time we did South by Southwest, like not knowing what the fuck it was or what we were doing, and we ended up like not having anywhere to stay and thinking, oh yeah, it'll be fine, like we'll just like find a house or something. But like every fucking band in the world is at South by Southwest, so it's like every house that would be available isn't available. So like sleeping like in our van, like super cramped, and then like finally finding like an open like motel room that like 4 bands ended up like crashing in, and it was just like absolutely disgusting. Like I remember like that was one of the grossest hotel rooms of my life. Like the carpet was like, flooring was like carpeted and it was just wet like for some reason, and there was like
Great
stains all over the wall of all kinds of bodily fluids. Like it was just like brutal, bad, like very terrible hotel experiences. Yeah, I don't know, just like those days they're a lot of fun. They're also like fairly blurry because I was pretty into doing various substances at the time, so, and drinking like a lot, so.
Yeah, I mean, luckily those days are past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I mean, but where are you staying now? Do you stay at hotels now? Like there's like an actual proper place to sleep?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we do hotels.
And you made it, dude.
Everybody gets a bed, and we all, it's we're just at a point like I can't like everybody needs like their rest and stuff now. We're not like partying, and it's just that's like the very least that, and also like we hire, like our guitar player is somebody who we hire, like it's a sort of like a revolving door of people, and we have like crew and stuff, like a merch person and a tour manager. So it's like we just have, everybody's got to like have a place to sleep.
Your light guy, your sound guy, your bounce. You being your own bouncers, I heard.
We bring our own bouncers. Yeah, we have like a 6-person security team. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you guys gonna beef it up though soon. to like
We're
at
gonna
least
beef it up
9?
to 12. Yeah, I think 9
12.
or
Okay.
12. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm sorry. I got those numbers wrong. I had done some investigation.
yeah.
What was the most gnarliest place you stayed when you were just asking people, hey, can we stay at your place? Or does nothing beat that motel room?
Well, I think that South by hotel probably like takes the cake. I remember one time, actually not that long ago, we ended up not that long ago. We it was, I think it was when we were on tour with Alkaline Trio. Actually, we which was 2017 or maybe 2018. We found ourselves, we had to cancel the Arizona show because somebody had like gotten sick. I can't remember exactly what it was. Like there's some reason we had to, yeah, somebody had to go to like the emergency room because they got like really sick and like couldn't stop throwing up or something. And like we basically like, I think the drive was like Salt Lake City or yeah, it was like Salt Lake City to Arizona, and that like right in the middle of that is Las Vegas. And I remember we are just like, there's no way like we can play like this person. I think somebody got like food poisoning. And so we end up like going to like a hospital in Las Vegas and then being like, well, shit, we have to like figure out where to stay now in Las Vegas because it's now like 1 a.m. All the hotels are booked. It was like peak season for Vegas too. It was like spring, summer, you know, it was like when the weather's great and stuff. So like all the fucking hotels were booked. Everything was booked. We ended up like staying at this place. It was called, God, what was it fucking called? It started with like a Q. It was like one of the gnarliest hotels I've ever, like rivaled that South by hotel. And that was like,
Ooh,
we had to do that like, you know, only a couple of years ago, just because it was like, we didn't have any other option. It
it
was like,
almost taken that throne. That must have been pretty something.
what's that?
I said it was almost taking the throne of the South by place. I mean, that's
Yeah,
really something then.
it was rival, very, very close rival. Like all the doors like had been like kicked in and shit like that. And there was like holes. It was like, it was pretty fucking crazy. So that, I mean, you know, that stuff still does sometimes happen, but like we try not to. We just like, everyone's a little older now, so we like, you know,
Until you're forced into it.
we cherish our sleep now more than we cherish like going out to like a after party or a bar or something, which is back then that was like, that was the priority back then, you know. It was like finish playing the show, like, all right, what are we doing tonight? Like who's having a party in town or what bar is everybody going to? Sick. All right, we'll figure out where to sleep when we get there.
That's future me's problem. But right now, I got other priorities.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when I mean, you guys have been doing it, I mean, what, since 2000, what, 9-ish, right? That's, I mean, like that's when you kind of joined, give or
Well,
take.
no, I started playing music with William probably like 2007. Eric joined the band in 2008. So
It's 2008. You three guys have been doing music together. And is it, I mean, do you consider, is it the people that you're in the band with? Is that why the longevity has lasted so long? I mean, 10 plus years.
yeah, I mean, you know, everybody in the band is my best friend. So I think William and I have been very close, you know, best friends for, I did the math. I think it's like almost like 15 years at this point.
So you guys aren't super close, but just every once in a while.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's just like, it's like, you know, it's family at this point. Like, you know, those, and then like Eric, same deal. Like, and it's just I don't know, like we've gotten good at, I think that we had plenty of fights in the early days, like that were mostly fueled by alcohol, you know, shit like that. But like we'd always like sort it out pretty quickly. It was never like, there was never really any long-term bad blood ever. Like it was always like, if we get in a fight, like somebody's getting in a fight, it's gonna be at like 1 or 2 a.m. when they're fucking blacked out or some shit. And then like, you know,
And they don't mean it.
no,
They're
it's
blacked
always
out.
just dumb shit. And it would get handled, you know, the next day or something like that. I'd be like, sorry, I was being a prick. Like, you know, so
Yeah.
that stuff doesn't really happen anymore. Touring has become like actually quite pleasant in the last few years, just because there's more sobriety involved than
And sleep. There's a lot of
there's sleep and sobriety involved. So it's like it's fun, you know, like I don't know, it's great being sober and being able to like wake up in a fucking some city and be like, oh, I'm gonna go do this like tourist thing that, you know, people fly from all over the world to go do just because it's like a mile away and I'm awake, you know. Like,
I guess I'll go do that. Yeah.
yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
How many albums, just ballpark, unless you know the exact number, have you guys put out?
I think technically this new one is 5. So it'd be like LPs would be like Jelly Jam, Living Dummy, Battle Act, Bulls and Roosters, Die. So that's 5. And then we've had like EPs in between all of them. So like, I'd say probably at least 1 EP per those. So like releases, probably like something around like 9 to 10. But like full length albums, yeah, I think we're at 5 at this point.
Wow. Do you have a favorite release, whether it be a full album or even a single that didn't, you know?
There's a song that we did a long time. I mean, I love it all for different reasons, but like there's a song that we did a very long time ago, right before Jelly Jam, that was called Not Anyone Knows, I think is what we called it. I think it was like out, I can't remember. I think it's on the Jelly Jam cassette as like the bonus song or something like that. I'm not really sure. I think it's been released in some capacity, but not really also. But I remember like we put like auto tune on William's voice for that.
Tight.
And I've always really liked that song because like the auto tune is like, it's sort of like he's just doing like ooze. So it's just a strange song that I kind of wish like got a little more love or like a proper release at some point, maybe, because I just think it's an interesting song that not a lot of people have heard.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, it sounds fantastic. From what you're describing to me, I don't recall this song, but I'm definitely gonna go check it out after this.
I think it was either called like Think Water or Not Anyone Knows. I can't remember.
Maybe a re-release is in order. A single.
It was technically, yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure how it eventually got released or if it actually ever did get released. I'm pretty sure it's on the Jelly Jam cassette, but I don't think it's like listed on the Jelly Jam cassette. But
little bonus track hidden in there.
I haven't listened to a Jelly Jam cassette in probably 12 years or something. So I'm not sure.
I think a re-release is in order via 45.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be super down. It'd be hard to maybe sell the other guys on it, but I think it'd be cool.
You got to put up to the vote.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but a few years, I mean, I guess a lot of years ago now, I remember a Tequila Pangea song being in a T-Mobile commercial. Does this ring a bell? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. I remember hearing that. I was like, wow, there it is.
Yeah.
I mean, did that blow your mind that T-Mobile wanted to license your music for an ad?
Yeah. I mean, it blew my mind in a few ways. Like it was the first time I ever like really made any real money from music ever. Like I wasn't aware that bands could make that much money. It was just one of those things like, you know, we'd had like songs in like video. I think at that point we maybe had a song in a TV show or like something like that. But like I remember our manager calling me and being like, we might have just gotten something really huge. I need this in the next 24 hours. He's like, I need the instrumental and I need like, you know, the solo, like the vocals only. He needed like all this shit. And I was like, okay, like, and I didn't know like how big of a deal it was going to be or that it would actually be like a legitimate source of income. But like, I mean, yeah, it was insane. Like, and then it just started playing like nonstop, and I was getting like family members calling me, being like, "Oh, we just saw we heard you guys like on the Super Bowl, like in the, like they played a commercial with your song in it. And we're like, we heard you get like, I just kept getting hit up from people being like, I'm watching a show on Hulu and like your song's on every single commercial. And yeah, it was wild. It was crazy. And like, I remember we got like paid initially for it, which was great. It was like, it didn't seem, it just seemed like it was like basically like what we had gotten like for advances in the past, like from like when we signed Capital, or like any record we've done like that we've gotten an advance on, it was like sort of comparable to that. And I was like, okay, cool, like nice, we just got paid, like awesome.
Sick.
And then we were in Europe, and I thought that was it. I thought that was like, that was, we get paid one time and that's it. And then we're in Europe, and my roommate calls me and he's like, hey, there's a manila envelope that just got delivered, and there's like 20 envelopes inside the manila envelope. And I was like, oh shit, can you like open one and tell me? And he like opens it and like reads off a check, like, and how much the check's worth. And then like, there's 20 of those. And I was just like, holy shit. Like I have like, for the first time in my life, I have more than like $2,000 in my bank account. Like, this is crazy.
That's rad.
And
yeah,
it was awesome. It was incredible. And it's like, it's a bummer that's like, that's kind of one of the more real ways that people can make money. Like I've got friends who do like, it's kind of all they do is like try to get commercial work for like, landing songs and landing syncs and stuff like that, because it pays really fucking well. If like you get lucky and you get a couple of those a year, you can be good, like. But yeah, that was definitely cool. It hasn't happened since, and sadly it happened at a time when I was still like young enough that I wasn't very smart about my like financial moves.
But you learned the lesson, and it's a important lesson to learn.
Yeah, I mean, like I got back from that tour and like cashed all those checks, and I was just like, sick, I got money, I don't have to do anything for at least like the next year. I'm just going to spend this money. Whereas I should have probably, like, if that happened again now, I'd probably like maybe buy a house or like
Save it, even
do something,
whatever.
do something with it that's a little smarter than like going out and just like buying shit and like not paying attention, which is essentially what I did. I just kind of,
you got some good memories out of it, right? You're like, that was cool.
I got to travel a lot out of it. Like I started like just sort of we'd do a tour, and I would like I remember like around that time, like we did a tour, and I like it ended in like maybe like Georgia or something, and I like flew to New York and stayed in New York with a friend for like 10 days, you know what I mean? Like did shit like that. We'd go to Europe, and I would like extend my trip in Europe for a week or two. So it was like I got to do cool stuff with it, but like, if we got a sync like that again, I would certainly, my priorities would be much different, I think.
How is the reaction to your music when you travel abroad to Europe and what have you?
It's great. People respond really well. We do very well in certain countries. In other countries, we don't do well at all. It just depends. We do like very well in places like Eastern Europe too, which is really cool. But like, it's just difficult Europe is difficult because like it costs a lot of money to go to Europe. There's a lot of overhead and other costs that don't exist with a US tour. So it's very hard to go out there, and it's definitely like you feel you're pinching the pennies a little harder, but it's incredible. I mean, we have a European tour coming up this summer with Jimmy Eat World, and I think this will be my 7th European tour.
That's awesome. Does it blow your mind that kids know like your music that live in like whatever Berlin or something like that? Like, does that like just astound you?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, like when I wrote this song, I didn't think that this random kid in this random town would know.
Totally. 100%.
Yeah, that must just be amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah, no, it's really fucking cool. It's one of those things, like, especially the first time going over there, it was really mind blowing,
Sure. When was, I mean, earlier, But
First time we went there was probably 2015, maybe 2014. It was for Battle Act. So
okay.
it was like at the end of the Battle Act cycle, which lasted a year, and Battle Act came out in January. So probably I think it was probably the summer of 2014 was our first time over there.
And were you just so stoked to go? You're like, all right, cool.
Yeah, it was incredible. We like got to play a bunch of amazing festivals and did a lot of headlining shows that were solid. And, we were still on Capitol, and they gave us tour support to go over there, which was great because it just meant that we didn't really have to the reality of what it costs to do a European tour didn't register to us until 2 tours later, when we're like, oh shit, this is actually very difficult to do. And it's, but yeah, it was our first time over there. So we had the label behind us. We had a
South by Southwest England. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what the fuck is that one called? It's called
Reading or something like that. Reading Festival.
No, not Reading. There is something that's like the equivalent of South by. It's in London that we did.
In the same nasty motel rooms out there too. the same exact one, just carbon copied and put in.
Yeah, except very steep staircases.
Cool. Yeah, even better.
Yeah. No, it's even staying in shitty hotels over there, that never really felt that shitty, just because we were just so excited that we're oh shit, we're in fucking Europe. This is awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, no, oh yeah, it was the NME something week. I forget, but we did something that was essentially kind of like a South by Southwest that is in England around that time. And it was the NME Awards week, where they have the award show, which is a big whatever, but then around it they have every venue in London is having
just hosting people
for free. Yeah.
Rad.
Yeah.
Does what is the song that you hear asked or request most when you're playing live from the audience? It'd be play
Sick Shit, which is, that's the song. There's tons of it's funny now because enough time has passed, and that song has taken off and had taken on a life of its own beyond anything any of us ever would have expected. But it's we just played in Fresno a week ago, and it was an incredible show. There's you can always sort of tell when you play at these other towns, and there's you got your core group of people that are actually there because they're long-term fans of the band or whatever, and know a lot of your catalog and stuff. And then there's I can always sort of tell there'll be a certain a small handful of people that are just there to see that song. And there's a few of them at the Fresno show, I remember, and that show was especially rowdy. But I remember hearing that song, people shouting for that song more than usual at that show.
And it's insane that T-Mobile used that for their marketing strategy. For that, they used Sick Shit. No,
oh yeah.
Could you imagine? They didn't censor it at all.
I know, right?
We're going in a new direction with advertising.
Hey, T-Mobile, hit us up. That was.
No, that's a Verizon shit. That's what they would do.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. That's probably the one. Honestly, that, and it's funny now with things like Spotify. You can. It's very interesting to be able to just sort of go and blatantly see what people are listening to. And some songs they're listening to a lot more than other songs. So it's
by a big gap. Yeah.
I mean, Sick Shit is has twice the number of streams than Battle Act or Friend of Nothing or whatever, the other 2 songs. And then those songs have twice the number of streams from whatever the one below it is and stuff that.
Sure.
It's interesting because it's it's kind of, it's cool to see that, and to see you can see more than ever what people are listening to and what people are responding to and stuff.
Yeah, I do not like to look at those kind of things for this podcast. Ooh, okay, all right, I get it.
Yeah,
cool. Just as long as somebody's listening to it, I'm happy. I
always wonder too. I mean, do you get to see? Do they have the same thing for if you're a podcaster? Can you go in and see your analytics or whatever?
I can see it on YouTube, but that's where I'm at right now. And yeah, I could see it, which is interesting. But
Yeah.
I'm always stoked when even if there's like 6 views on something, like that's sick. Like,
Yeah,
and I know
totally.
nobody that I know listens to the podcast, so that's just 6 random people, which
Yeah,
is awesome.
it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the South by Southwest thing. I'm really stoked to stay in that motel room.
Are you going to South by Southwest this year?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
cool.
they asked. No, I'm fucking kidding, man. No, I'm
You
more
should
of a
go.
more of a desert days guy.
Nice. Yeah, South by is definitely like an experience. I mean, we were actually talking about doing it the year that like like COVID canceled everything. 2020. Not doing it this year, but it's definitely, if you haven't gone, it's worth doing at least once, I'd say.
Yeah, I gotta make it out there one day.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
it's a
doing
lot
the
of fun.
podcast out there though. That's it. I'm only there to spectate.
Yeah.
And I know people will be grabbing me. Oh, do that. Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm
Hey,
too busy.
I'm on vacation. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, how do you feel about the name change now? From Pangea to Skillet Pangea, looking back at it now, are you glad that you changed it, or
I don't think any of us are like particularly big fans of the band name. We essentially, like, when we signed to Harvest, Capital, Universal, they're all the same thing. When we signed to them, we got like an email, like basically we turned in the offer / Snake Dog single, like 45 that they put out, like the artwork and the lyrics and all the shit that they needed, all got turned in. And we get an email like a few days later from like the legal department at Universal Music saying like the band name needs to change. And we like fought it. I told our lawyer, I was like, no, we're not changing it. Like, sorry. And then he's like, okay, let me see what I can do. And then he calls us back like the following week. He's like, yeah, they're not going to put it out unless you change it. And we're like, fuck, what are we going to do? And then it was just sort of like, that was just our social media handle. So it was that simple. It was just like, all right, guess we'll do this.
he said the account got hacked, you don't even own that anymore, so
yeah. Well, it was like they basically, those lawyers for Universal Music Group, like they have teams of lawyers, they have a whole like legal department, it's a massive major label, and they sent us like a trademark report for the name Pangea, like in and relating to like music. And it was like 200 pages of like different entities that had Pangea in the name. And in our head, we were just like, well, there's a metal band from the 80s called Pangea that is not very popular. And there's a DJ called Pangea that spells it different. So we should be good. But they still were like, no, you guys got to change it. So we added it together to it and like tried to hide it, sort of. Like if you
with
look
the
at like
small text.
yeah, if you look at like the first couple releases, I was sort of just making the together as small as I could. But yeah, it's easier to find us on Google, I guess. I don't know.
It is, yeah, which is your
but
lawyer was right.
yeah, I mean,
certain things.
I don't necessarily like, I'm not like, yeah, that's a great band name, but like then I get people who come up to me and tell me how they think it is a really good band name, and I'm just kind of like, is it? I don't think so, but thanks. Like, I think I just, all of us like have some like a different opinion on it because like it was Pangea for a very long time before we were forced to change it. So, yeah.
You got to find the statistics on who thinks it's a good band name, who doesn't think it's a good band name. That's what needs to be released. That's what you need to find.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like too late now too. It's like we've had so many years, and all like I'd say I'm sure that I'm pretty certain at this point that most of our fan base has known us as Together Pangea. It's like, the people that knew us as just Pangea are, now in the minority of like our fans.
It's that small segment in Fresno. They're asking for
the
that.
Fresno people, yes.
Yeah, that small. Yeah, you think that they're not fans? They're mega fans.
They're
just
mega
like
fans.
that.
They just really, really like sick shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the statistics don't lie. The analytics of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is there a specific song that you were trying to write or trying to record that just took an exorbitant amount of time? It's like this needs to. I mean, I just need to tackle this.
Took a long amount of time. On the new album, there's a couple songs on the new album that took quite a bit of tweaking and working out. What are they called? I know I hear the melody in my head, but it's Rapture. That one like went through quite a few different versions and like rhythm changes and things like that. Wanted Out also was one that took quite a while. I think that's kind of it, honestly. Like a lot of times, like we sort of just figure something out pretty quickly. Like William will bring the song to the band and then we'll just sort of work on it and get it handled fairly quickly. Or like it's usually in the case like where we're like working on like a riff or something like that and like building a song off of like a riff, which is like how we wrote Alive, the first song on Battle Act. That was like that one took some time because it was literally just that opening riff and then it was like figuring it out from there. But
and are you always stoked that like it's like, yeah, this took time to create this because this is fantastic?
It definitely like, like there's like a moment where it feels like, oh shit, like finally we like figured it out. Like
relief more than excitement.
Yeah, more relief, I think. Because it's like it just takes like a long time sometimes to figure out the right thing to do with a song. Like I remember, Wanted Out went through I think there was even maybe a different verse like melody for quite some time with that song. And Rapture, we like had a full-on different like rhythm section happening for a minute on that song. It took a minute to like get Rapture right. I remember like those two songs, and I'm sure that this happened a lot more, but this is just the freshest in my memory since this is the most recent record we've made. But
Sure.
Took quite a while to get those two right.
Well worth the time though, right?
Yeah, they both ended up being singles and people seem to enjoy them a lot live. So yeah.
Statistically, the analytics.
Yeah, statistically. Going by the analytics.
Do you view these new albums as not different, but just kind of inspired by different things, or different in the aspect of where you're at now as opposed to way back in whatever 2012? Is it just kind of two different things, or is it all under the same umbrella?
I mean, yes and no. It's like it depends on the album. Like Bulls and Roosters, we specifically were like trying to write an album of music that was most interesting to us. Not with a whole lot of regard to like what people like about the band or know the band for necessarily, which ended up which worked out in the case of like Money on It, like that song is, sounds more like a lot of the music I think that we would listen to, on a more daily basis than a song like, Rapture or something like that. But then like, on the flip side of that, then we made Die and we like flipped that and we're like, let's try to make a record that will be really fun to play live. That'll be really like reminiscent of all the stuff that, our fans like love about the band, whatever that is. It's like we sort of like went into it thinking like, okay, let's do like Battle Act, but like part 2 and like more mature or something. And now we're like having the conversation like of like what we're gonna do next, and I don't know, we're still figuring that one out. I think that might go back to doing stuff that interests us a little more. I'm not sure.
I like the answer. I do.
Yeah.
Is
It
it
just changes, you know, it's like, it just depends. Like, it just came down to like, you know, like we wanted to write for Die, like we wanted to write an album that was a lot of fun to play live. And it has been like, it, you know, we've only gotten to play, I think we've probably done a total of like 10 shows since like shows have become a thing again. But like, you know,
strong start?
What's that?
Strong start to those fun songs.
Yeah, totally. It's like they all kind of from the get-go like have had amazing responses, and people like knowing the lyrics already. Like I remember like we played the Troubadour, and William, something happened with the song one way or another, like a technical difficulty happened, and like he started it and started singing it, and then like had to stop for a second, and like the crowd kept singing it. And I remember that was like a cool moment, because it was like, oh shit, like people already know and like this stuff, and it's only been out for a month.
And then in the back of your mind, you're like, we're gonna sell so many fucking albums tonight. It's gonna be great.
We didn't even have the albums for the record release show because these fucking vinyl delays that have been happening across the world because
thanks to you and Taylor Swift.
Thanks to us, yes. It was the millions of records that we had pressed.
I saw the analytics.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think it was like what, Ed Sheeran and Adele and
Taylor Swift
kind of like all happened at the same time, and they like paid a lot of money, I think, to skip the lines, which I mean, they certainly sell quite a bit of records, so I understand, but it definitely fucked over a lot of releases.
Yeah.
Like I think we got our vinyl at the beginning of January, and it was supposed to be out September. So
that sounds about right to me, dude. Yeah. It's outrageous. Does it bring a different feeling when you have because sometimes you guys do play just a 3-piece, and sometimes you bring in another guitarist for 4? Mm-hmm. Does that bring a different energy to it?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna do like a tour or something, we're doing it as a 4-piece. Sometimes we'll do like acoustic or one-off shows where it's just us 3. We write as a 3-piece. Everything's written just as a 3-piece. So it's mostly that just once we get in the studio, all those songs, to recreate them live, we need to have 2 guitars. So at the moment, we've been having Brandon Schwartzel playing with us.
Good guy. Good choice. Good guy. Yeah. All around nice dude.
Brandon rules. Love that guy. Love that man very much.
Who has had the greatest inspiration on you, on your music, and how you look at music and write music? I'll say music one more time because it sounds good.
I mean, I don't know, man. It changes a lot. Like
currently, then, most recently,
I've just been listening to like a lot of like Buck Owens and like Waylon Jennings and like
that's that Fresno show.
What's that?
It's that Fresno show. I mean, Bakersfield. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm making the connection. I mean,
Bakersfield's got the best. They got Dwight Yoakam, Buck Owens, and Korn. It's like, you know,
3 heavy hitters.
City.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, 3 heavy hitters. Yeah.
Exactly.
Say Nashville? No, dude. Bakersfield.
Not Bakersfield. I don't know. Like, I think honestly, like in my lifetime, biggest musical impact, probably like the Beatles. Like I grew up with my dad being a big Beatles guy, and like sort of not having a choice whether to like them or not for most of my life. And I remember like not caring about, like, you know, I like loved them when I was a little kid, and then I sort of like got into punk music and thought all that shit, that it was all lame for a while, you know. And then I remember like getting into like Elliott Smith and more indie rock folk kind of stuff, like K Records stuff, when I was probably like 17, 16. And then like hearing, like, I remember the song that like brought me back into the Beatles was like Julia. Like I heard Julia by the Beatles, and I was just like, oh shit, this sounds like Elliott Smith. And like and then I was like, that snowballed into me like having another love for them. And So like I don't know, like band, like sort of generic, like stuff like the Kinks, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, a lot of that sort of Brit pop, stuff really influenced me a lot growing up, and continues to. I definitely listen to more Rolling Stones at this point in my life than I do Beatles, but I still love them. And I don't know. Then like there's, like I said, like the K Records stuff, like that had a big sort of impact. Like K Records and like Elephant Six, like those sort of indie collectives had a
Right.
big impact on like my sort of way of thinking about like how to make music and what making music can mean, and like the sort of means of production and things like that, like um the sort of intertwining of like art and music, and them being one more than
Separated.
separate thing. So like those sorts of artists really inspired me a lot when I first met William, probably like 16, 17.
Awesome.
And that definitely like inspired the way that we did things for a long time, and gave us, also like just playing like punk, like the punk scene in bands and stuff like that, like around Los Angeles, and like doing things ourselves. Like I still print quite a bit of the Pangea merchandise myself, like in my garage. Um, so a lot of that stuff has stuck with me, like, whether I sort of realize it or not. Just those sort of like DIY ethos, I think, have had quite an impact on me.
Plus your work ethic, and you
Yeah,
knew what you wanted to do.
yeah, totally. And it's like I went to CalArts and worked in the print shop, so like why wouldn't I make our shirts, like like stuff like that. I don't make when we go on a big tour, I don't do it because I just don't have the hours to do it. For those, we like hire a merch company, but like for this tour that we just did, that was 5 days total, like yeah, I can print 100 shirts, I can print 200 shirts, that's fine.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there a concert or a show that stands out to you that you're like, this was just an amazing show because everything, it was just like the audience was great, or the sound was great, or you just had a nice time doing it?
Just ever.
Ever. Yeah.
Honestly, kind of recently, we headlined the Glass House a couple months ago, November. I kind of think that was like, we sort of all walked away from that show being like, wow, that might have been like the best show we've ever done, for a lot of, like, for all those, everything, just like it was perfect. Like, show sold out. We played as good as I can ever remember us playing. Like, it was one of those shows. A lot of times, like, you finish a set, you walk off stage to the backstage, sit down, and immediately start like roughly critiquing the set, like aloud to everybody else in the band. You're like, oh shit, I fucked up that part, or like, oh, fuck, we forgot to do this thing. You know what I mean? Like, we started immediately like tearing ourselves apart.
As you
That
do.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. It's like you're your own harshest critic for sure. But like that show, like we walked off stage and like everybody was like, that was amazing. That was great. Like everything about it was perfect. We sold the show out. We played as perfect as I think we could have ever played. The lineup was great. Everything was like as good as it could have ever been.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That, and I'd say
Danny.
like when we headlined the Regent the last time as well, like comes in at a close tie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And this leads into the promo because we're at the end of it. But if you want to go experience that show, which is going to be fantastic, whatever show you attend is going to be the best one, and this answer is going to change. Is that correct? No matter where you guys are playing. Righto. You guys are everywhere though, streaming, right? Wherever
Streaming
people
all over
listen.
the place, all the places, all the things, they're all on there. They're all out there on the internet. We go on tour in April for 5 weeks, all over the place.
Awesome. So check the website to find out tickets and information, all that. There's links to that there, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Website togetherpangea.com.
Get the merch
Find us
there
on all
too.
the social. It's always like at Together Pangea or togetherpangea.com. And yeah, we will be announcing a LA and Orange County date fairly soon, I think. So
Good. I'm so glad you're coming to Orange County because that drive, man.
yeah. Well, you know, if you look at the tour dates, we're missing two very obvious places, which are LA and Orange County. So those will
That
be
needs to be
announced.
fixed.
It
Yeah.
needs to be fixed. It will be fixed, and I believe it is in June that we will be playing LA and Orange County.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and in all social media, to the Pangea, stay up to date with that. What
Yeah.
else? We got anything? Los Bolos.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a super group right there. That's probably one of the funnest things, the funnest like musical experiences ever. Just because it's just like all of us in the band, you know, have our more serious musical projects, you know, that at a certain point, like it's always gonna be fun to play with Pangea. It's always gonna be fun to like go on stage and play music and stuff. But there's just like with Bolos, there's so little pressure and it's just pure enjoyment. And we're playing songs that all of us are just fans of because it's all covers. So it's just like it's just a whole other level of joy that comes from that band. And it's just like, yeah, I'm in a band with like 6 of my best friends, 7 of my best friends, depending on who's in town. And it's like we're just fucking around.
It's
There's
like a
no
nightmare to
pressure.
play, huh? It's a nightmare to play. You don't like doing it. So if you catch them, it's really rare that you catch them. He hates doing them.
We got to do
We'll get
something
that out.
soon. We've been talking about it. I imagine we will have something in the next 6 months at some point. I don't know when, but it always like all it takes is like getting one email or one text from somebody and then the group text fires right back off where it left off. And we pretty much, yeah, if you want us to play a Los Bolos show, you literally just have to like hit up me or Brandon or Elvis or Max and we'll probably do it.
There you go. You already
Yeah.
here, folks.
Yeah.
Danny, thank you so much, dude. It's been a fucking pleasure.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that I mean, I know I pushed the Los Bolos thing, but it's just because
No, I think that's it. I know that when is this going to air?
we're at not next Friday, but the Friday after next. So
Well, I think that there will be a new Pangea single out by then.
right.
So
Awesome.
keep an eye on all the streaming stuff. If it isn't out by then, it'll have been announced, I think. So there will be more music coming. Just keep an eye out.
Go check it out, get those analytics up statistically,
Yeah.
all that jazz. Danny, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop recording this and I'll talk to you in a
Cool.
minute. Thank
All
you,
right.
boss.